So, if you have been around the channel for a long time, back to when we probably had about 20,000 subscribers, we built a truck called RT Baker. And when I finished RT Baker, I said, what's the next project? That was this one. I probably wouldn't have taken this one on, except I said yes to this 3 years ago. Let's get into it. Just get a bigger hammer. Wow. All right, so what am I looking at? And why is the resolution on this video so terrible? Well, truth is, this project started 3 years ago. We gotta take it back a couple steps. When you're thinking of a project, it happens one of two ways. Either you have something in your yard that you've been wanting to do for years, or you stumble across something in a field and I gotta have it, gotta build it. Well, this is one of those projects that has been thought about for a long time and finances never actually lined up until 3 years ago. Hey. Yeah. I found out why it was $700. Well, all we did was pull the cab and box off of a 1989 Dodge 1-ton dually with a 5.9 Cummins in it. It even does it when you're it's not even running. I sandblasted and painted the frame, put the engine back on it, and gave it back to the customer. From there, it went to another shop. 2 Studebaker truck cabs were welded together, custom tailgate made along with another box to fit. In the meantime, I had the engine, I resealed the engine. Didn't really take a whole bunch of video on that because we've done lots of videos on how to put new gaskets into a 5.9 Cummins. Didn't open it up, and I got the truck back again. Right now we're going to get the drive line up to par, hook up the steering, and get some brake lines going. From there we'll go back to a body shop where they will paint it. I will get it back again, we'll wire it, and then have a nice quick little project. Just quick, right? Yeah, here we go. All right, well, here she is. This project started 3 years ago, and we're at this point now. Now, the last 4 months have been entirely my fault. This is not an easy project. This is 2 Studebaker truck cabs welded together into a crew cab, or extended cab, suicide door, whatever. But I will not be doing the body work on this. I am only getting this engine in here, and kind of the suspension, brakes and stuff, making sure that it's safety that way, getting the gauges working inside, but I am not touching the body at all, and I'm happy about that. But we'll take you along for what I'm gonna do anyway. Basically, we're gonna try and get this in and out as soon as possible. Apologize to the customer for taking so long. Some really nice steel work was done, welding the old Studebaker tailgate into a brand new tailgate. We freshened up the Cummins, just splashed some black paint on it. A rebuilt transmission to go behind it, brand new torque converter. So throw some oil in the torque converter, bolt that up, and then put the transmission in it and load it up in there and bring it inside the shop where we can get at it nicely. So here we go. Nothing else. A complete faith in this converter. Okay, so I got the fenders on roughly. And this is a 2nd gen rad. I was hoping to use that intercooler because that's what the turbo's off of. But that's not going to fit at all. That's just a junk rad. There's no way the intercooler piping, unless I put them through the headlight holes maybe, I guess that would work. We'll have to figure something out with the turbo and the intercooler because that turbo was shot. So the next thing to fit is to make the steering work. And I gotta cut that out and get rid of all this. This is just not usable. So we'll see if we've got some working gauges. This one is not working for the temperature. This oil might very well be working. And then cut the rest of it out. Here we go. We got a whack of parts here that need to be installed: shocks, brakes, oil change, fuel filter, pads, calipers, wheel cylinders, brake lines, fuel lines, oil change, and then we'll get into running the wiring. We'll get rid of this front bumper. So we're gonna use the rad out of an old Studebaker, which actually a 5-core rad, nice and thick. If you compare that to the skinny little Dodge one, it's pretty funny actually. The only issue is that the inlet and the outlet are completely the wrong size. So this Dodge one fits pretty good. The one that was in here was completely rotten, but I had this one laying around, surprise, surprise. I didn't even know I had this one, so walking through and I'm like, oh, that's the right size, it's right there. The bottom rad hose is the right size. So we'll make that one work. Welcome to Canada. If you see this, everything's rotten. This is seized, the cable's broken, and so the star adjuster's toast. This little thing there's nothing left of it. So guys, it is really important when you pick a project like this, even if it came with a Cummins in it, there's lots of trucks and wreckers that are like mid-2000s, they're already in the scrapyard, that ride a lot nicer and are in much better shape. Really the only difference is, like, you will have to end up making a drive shaft for it, which is an expense, so count that in. But the bolts are stripped on the differential. I can't get those out, even with my bolt extractor set. All the U-joints are shot, the hanger bearing's shot. I can't get parts for this. That's frustrating. That's where I started talking about this for. Took the nut off for the shocks. Bolt broke off right away. And you can see even the axle. The top of it here is rusty. Like, that's all going through bearings. It's all not worth it. So moral of the story is I don't know what we're gonna do with this yet. We'll figure that out. It just takes time, and I'd rather get it in and out of the shop, and this is how these little projects end up taking a long time. Yeah. Great axle, stupid idea. All right, this side actually didn't look too bad. Even got the star adjuster out and freed up. Look at that. Got that all lubed up. Change out these pads, clean everything up a little bit. Even the drum looks acceptable. We'll put new bearings in it and new races. I might actually, this side's okay, the other side is not. We'll have to do something with the other side, so here we go. Well, imagine that. We managed to scrounge up another axle and some good parts. It's clean. Look at that. Cable's still all there. Not bad at all. I had to wreck the drum to get it off because she was a bit tight, but I think even the star adjuster's not bad at all. I think this one was inside for a while. Basically every wheel bearing's the same, whether it's on a trailer or on a differential or on a transmission. If you've got two tapered bearings opposing each other, tighten a nut, spin it while you're tightening it. And you can seat the bearings as you're spinning it, and then back it off, usually about a flat, 2 flats, so it spins freely. And there is no play. That's all there is to it. Okay, so we've got new brake rotor, wheel bearings, caliper, lines, shocks, steering. We're not gonna worry about right now. We'll worry about alignment and stuff later. I don't know until the tires are on, take a good look. I don't know what's going on, but we'll look at that later. The problem with a project like this is it's an old frame and it's already 30 years old. So it's not the greatest platform to start with because we're having trouble getting some parts. Even like dust caps, the dust caps were rough. So we got new dust caps, they don't fit. They're probably about 10, 20 thou too big, so they don't fit inside. So we have to leave that and then go on to the next thing and run into the next problem. Okay, so I carefully removed the bracket assembly from the old cab. And then I cut out the little plate on the firewall there, just as a template. So the firewall on the Dodges are straight up and down, and we'll probably use that so we can mount the same brake booster and all that. So I need to make this straight up and down, and then I don't need this top half, so I can basically just cut it right across there, and then it will drop the pedals slightly. I don't think that's a big deal. This is a taller cab. I don't really want to get into having to lift it up into here, so we'll try and make it so we can weld it to the bottom of this. We'll cut this straight out and we'll just fold that open, and then we'll use this as a template, cut some holes in there, drill some holes for the bolts, and then this one is just for the brakes. Before we get too deep, I'll be able to tell and make sure that the brake booster fits in there. And I actually have my doubts. Brake doesn't fit at all because it's way too big. So we'll probably put a hydro boost on it and get rid of this little vacuum pump here. They're a pain in the butt anyway. We'll just run right off the power steering pump. My brake assembly has to go flat, but when I put my assembly up there to hold the steering wheel and whatnot, it's way too low. Because you see where this would hit the bottom here, it still drops it down a good 2 inches, and I want my steering wheel basically to go up tight there. The pedal's too low, so I'm gonna pull this dash out and raise it up that little bit. Here we go. That's some good high nickel steel. Okay, so this is in the position that I want it to be. It houses my brake pedal right away, nice and sturdy. It's up high enough. Steering wheel is where it's supposed to be. This cab is a lot narrower, so the steering wheel is actually probably about that far over to the left. I'm gonna get a universal steering shaft to just kind of go around the corner and make it to my steering box. There's a little bit of slop in here, so we'll loosen this nut and we'll tighten that up. It just brings the gear closer to the worm gear. So then that tightens that up a little bit. I went ahead and pulled this thing off very gently, rusted solid, off of our steering box. And we're gonna put this universal U-joint in here with this rectangular shaft. That's the part number for those universal joints. Now this shaft actually fits inside here, so we can make a little stubby to weld inside this, and then we could put a U-joint over top wherever we feel right. And this is actually a close fit. So what we'll do is instead of the roll pin going through there, we'll grind this on these two sides to work in the flat, and then this set screw will hit this indent and keep it from coming off. And then measure our shaft, which will go in between here like so. And we got some steering, and then we'll work the fender so it fits around here. So here we go. We're going with a parking brake shifter, kind of like RT Baker. We don't need this anymore. And we don't need this anymore. So on this end, it's actually the same shape as this, and it actually fits over really nicely. Problem is, it's round on that end. So they just banged that to put that coupler on. Not a big deal. We'll make a piece that slides inside, and then it does fit nicely inside that. Okay, so we've got our shaft. Now this shaft goes inside up to about here. We're gonna squeeze the end, but before you do it, you might wanna make sure that your steering wheel is straight, because these wheels kind of suck. They only go on in one spot. But we are not gonna use the steering wheel. We're gonna take a center out of this one and put it in a different steering wheel. So that's kind of irrelevant to us, but it is to you possibly. So I'm happy with that there. We'll squeeze that just slightly, and then we'll warm it up. We'll just squeeze it just a little bit so that we can try our steering, but we won't. And I leave myself just enough to put a little weld on there. All right, shaft's in. See if it works. Oh, look how excited it is. It's super excited. Look at that. Oh, super excited. Making a mess everywhere. I guess I should put that return line back on. And then I gotta quickly throw that engine in between there and roll that back together again with no guts in it. So I can roll the tractor ahead, and then I can roll the GTO off the hoist, and then I can take a hay wagon, put it underneath that hoist, roll it over to right about here-ish, and I'm gonna put my 2-post up. Good times. This is kind of our junk fender, or not junk, but practice fender, before we scratch it. This is actually where the air came in for the original engine, through here somewhere, but we gotta cut this out so we can get our intercooler piping that goes over to here. So our good fender is right here. So luckily they didn't work too hard on this section here, and we'll cut that out. Who doesn't love cutting up a fender that's already been primed and ready to go? I need to fill this in somehow. I ran out of sheet metal, but I did find this nice little box here with these nice sharp little corners. Basically, I'm gonna put this, cut this down to the side, fold the end of it down so that the steering or the gauge cluster can still sit here. And then I need 12 inches over and then down something that's on my tape box. We can scuff this down and paint that. That's not bad, but it needs to be a lot better. I have to cut this corner out and get a little bit creative because my temperature sensor is actually inside the cab right now. I measured once with my tape boss, got all the measurements. This is nice clean folds on the corners, and that will slip down right beside it and then wrap around. I can weld to there and to there, and then fold a lip over on the inside, scribe that. I need to put this in the brake and just bend that down. Grab that, just kind of fold that, bend it, and bend it back. Can't make a full bend because too much stuff is in the way, but at least we have a crease that we can manipulate. Now, the trick with a lot of this stuff, you gotta hold your tongue just right. I'm gonna leave that on that side. Geez, it's like I fitted it 2 or 3 times before I hit record on the camera. Okay, so this is the inside. I'll just take my scribe, the screwdriver that I have laying around, and I'll just make a nice mark, top and bottom, on both sides. Then I'll cut maybe 1 inch in, fold it over, drill a bunch of holes, clean this steel, and then I can spot weld that with a nice new MIG to there. I'll pull it out and weld that plate of steel on the top of the whole assembly. And then I'll drill a bunch of holes here and weld that to there. And then we'll run some seam sealer in nice along. And this temperature sensor, there's another hole right here. You can't see it. There's another hole back here. So just move that sensor. We'll plug that port and cut straight across, cut 2 at the same time. Holy box, man. It's a lot of holes. slide that on there and away we go.
Get in there and have a look at the boogers.
Yeah, it's a little bit dirty, but those welds turned out okay.
That's actually really good.
Yeah.
Considering you're like using old crap and...
Yeah, that all gets covered up with seam sealer.
Yeah.
It's the edges on the inside, spot welding. I'll make a cut across here and we'll clean that up. We'll weld that in nice and tight. And then...
Is this painted?
Yeah.
What is that, like
it's an old
cabinet?
It's a cabinet.
Filing cabinet?
It's a cabinet that the owner gave me that I had no use for. He loved it. He walked in, he's like, I love it.
Well, it's already bent up for you.
Yeah, well, I couldn't bend this corner up as nice as what the box looks like. So I'm like, I'll grind this corner off and then cut that flush and weld that in together real nice. The trick to that is to just have it together and then just take your cut and cut through both layers at the same time. And then you have just the right amount of gap to weld the two nicely together. So
nice.
And she's my light here, see that? so now that I have something to work with and it's a bit stiff, I'll just take a hammer and fold that over and then we'll spot weld all of these to this area here. That's nice and clean. And same on this side, we'll just bang that over. And then the holes are drilled up at the top here. See that? I'll just fold that over and then spot weld that. And then it's impossible to push it out.
Push it out, yeah. And just seam seal it to keep the moisture.
Yep. All right, so the box is welded in. It's good and solid, but it's not done. Only because we've been enjoying our Lincoln welder so much that we ran out of gas and it is 11 o'clock at night and nobody's open to give me another bottle. So I might finish it in the morning, but Aaron needs this footage tonight. And it depends on what the body shop is doing. If they're ready to take it Monday, Tuesday, then you probably won't see another video until it comes back. If they're not ready for it, we'll have another video just finishing up the loose ends. There's a couple things holding us back. Sending unit in the tank. The fitting broke off on the return, so they got me a new sending unit. I pulled the clamp off, the clamp broke. It's an old truck, that's what happens. We're waiting for e-brake cables. We're waiting for an intercooler piping kit that's supposed to come from Amazon, but they were out of stock, so I don't have that. But we have enough to actually get it to the paint shop. It's been a long project coming, so I don't know how long it's going to be at the body shop. They have a pile of work to do to it. Smooth everything out, get the gaps right, all that fun stuff, all those lots of loose ends. I can't even get it running because I don't have the tank in there. So I don't know how long it's going to be until the next video. Just hope this was kind of a long video. Next will be the C10. We've got a video on a 2-post hoist going in, along with the cab sitting on the air ride frame with the Duramax under the hood. That one's coming up soon too. And then some other random stuff. So I'm tired, I'm going to bed. Here we go.